Hello, welcome back to another video. My name's Vendia and I'm currently working on my own manga. This one here, Limbo, which you can read online for free. You can check out the links in the description. But today, what we're going to be doing is something a little different because I feel like a lot of us artists, we struggle a lot or we find backgrounds quite daunting. And me, myself included, I like to do them. I know I need to include them, and the only way to get better at it and more comfortable is by doing it. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna practice doing some backgrounds. So I think how I'm gonna do it today is we're gonna use my favorite resource for backgrounds, which I personally really like to use, like Google Maps, since like in my manga it's based in London, Westminster, so I use a real location. It's a lot easier for me. It's a bit harder if you've got like a completely fancy setting. That's a bit different, but you can still gain a lot of inspiration or aspects of things you can include from real life into your, very fancy sci-fi setting, whatever it might be. So we're going to use Google Maps, and I think I'm just going to pick maybe random locations, and we're just going to turn that background, that scene, into a background. So that's what we're gonna do today. Let's practice backgrounds. All right, I've got Google Maps open and I don't know where to start. Where do I want to start? Also, I'm not sure if I want to just focus more on like cities and urban landscapes compared to just, more nature. But I don't know. Also, maybe I'll do a few of each. We'll see. I ended up using Google Earth since it was a lot easier to be able to drop my little man and go on like the little street views, so it was just easier, so I did it with Google Earth. And at first we went to Morocco, Marrakesh, because a few years ago me and my family went there on a holiday and it was actually really beautiful, so just thought, well, might as well start with there. So I kind of had a look at a few places randomly. And in the end, I did stick to more like urban landscapes. I think maybe after a little while. Oh, hello, this was funny. How did they even get this shot? Whatever, it doesn't matter. What was I saying? Yeah, I stuck to urban landscapes, and I think I might do some maybe more like nature sort of landscapes. I could do that in like another little video. That might be quite fun. It was kind of nice looking through all these, thinking like, oh, I've been there. I've walked through there. So that was pretty cool. Then my second stop was Thailand, Bangkok, because, well, I was sort of thinking to myself, well, I've been to Morocco, but where else do I really want to go? And I'd love to go to Thailand. I mean, it's mainly just because of my Thai. Like, I would really love to just go and train there for a while, but obviously with work commitments, that's kind of not possible at the moment, unfortunately. So have to live live through the photos. But yeah, so that's why we stopped at Thailand. With these backgrounds, I could see that a lot of the ones that I was sort of gravitating towards were ones where it's sort of like cluttered, and like you can see like all the clotheslines. There's a lot of things there. I really like that. Yeah, there's just a lot of little details. I love that in backgrounds. And yeah, these were all the sort of screenshots I took. Now, I took way too many, so I'm not going to do a crazy amount. So from these ones, I'll just pick like maybe 4, maybe 6, I don't know, probably 4. And we're just going to work on them, just do like 2 little pages. When it came to actually drawing these ones, now you can see I kept the actual layout very simple, like I'm just going to do 2 on a page. I think maybe if I want to try this again, maybe I could take like a background and maybe make like a little short 1 or 2 page sort of story with it. That could be quite fun. So that's something to consider. I might do something like that if I want to do something like this again, just for a little practice. Because right now the only story that I'm like working on is just my manga, and that's it. I haven't really like done any other stories apart from like many years ago and I did like a really crappy one. Actually, maybe I could remake that as well. That could be kind of fun. But yeah, anyways, today we're focusing on backgrounds, and yeah, I just wanted to try a few. And I just wanted to keep it fairly simple for these ones. So yeah, this is the first one we're starting with. And with this one, because it was quite, you know, it's a lot of rubble and things like that, I kept it quite simple, and there wasn't that much, what do you call it, perspective in this one, like with perspective rules and stuff like that, I mean. But that is one thing I definitely need to work on, because a lot of times I find myself struggling if I do need to draw a proper like city background. It does take me a while. I usually have to look up if it's more than like a 1 or 2 point perspective. If I want to get more fancier, then I usually have to look up how to do it and try and figure out from there. But it would be good to just be able to just identify what perspective I need and just, you know, start working on it. So yeah, that's definitely something I need to develop. And looking back on some of these, I also feel like with the actual screen tones, like in this one, I quite like where the light shines on. I quite like the brush I used to erase away, since I think the sort of scratchiness fits well with the environment and the leaves around it. So I think that worked. But I think in general, I need to be more like have a bit more contrast when it comes to the screen tones, because that can really help identify the different sort of shapes in the background. And especially when you're reading a story and maybe, you know, the panel's smaller, or, you know, it can just help everything pop out a bit more, you know. So in the second image, you can see that obviously I'm using more actual perspective in this one, and it was a bit of trial and error. It was very rough at the start. I did end up like having to redraw a few like lines and bits and bobs just to make it, you know, look a bit more correct. But yeah, I wanted to do that one, like this second one, like this, because obviously the first one I didn't really start with anything like that. So yeah, that's why. And in the end, I think it actually came out all right. Like I know, like now looking at it, especially yeah, see, you can see me start to redraw bits that I could definitely tell were wrong. So yeah, that's good. It's good I noticed it. Sometimes you just don't notice these things until you come back to it like a day or two after, you know. And also, I didn't want to spend like crazy long on these either. This was something I wanted to just get like a quick practice in. But overall, I think doing these actually did quite help me. Even just trying to see, you know, different ways of starting an image in the background. I think, yeah, it'll really help. And especially if I keep doing more of these every now and again, I think it'll really help develop my stories a lot more. And just be a more well-rounded artist in, you know, many aspects. Since in comics, manga, just visual storytelling, you end up drawing so many different types of things. So you kind of need to learn to develop and work around things. If you don't know how to draw it, you need to kind of figure it out. Which can be like the beauty of it, but it can also be very frustrating if you can't get something right. But that's why we're practicing, aren't we? So yeah. It can only get better from here, can't it? Sometimes for these, I also looked at just manga pages in general and how other people do backgrounds, and that is helpful. But it's also like when I look at mine, I think, God, why can't mine look like that? There's something off, and I don't really know what it is. I don't know. I think it's just because I'm not that confident in drawing backgrounds, and I feel like I can't do them properly. So just comparing it, it's like, I know I can see all the mistakes or just the things I want to show differently, right? And as well as just trying to develop these backgrounds and how I draw them, but also so it fits my work and how I like to do things. Since like with my drawing, I do quite like sort of having I like a lot of hatching and those sorts of things. So I feel like I need to learn to incorporate that in a way into the backgrounds where it doesn't look messy. Like it doesn't look messy, but it's still got that sort of,
I don't know, it's hard to explain. You probably know what I mean. You probably get what I'm saying. But yeah, I don't want the background and the characters to feel completely disjointed. But at the same time, I want the background to feel like, you know, an actual background, especially since my story is set in like, you know, an actual place. But yeah, I think it's just something I need to develop, just keep developing more, just draw more and learn along the way, honestly. And I did have a lot of fun actually drawing these. Like I said, I didn't want to spend crazy long on these, but I think it was definitely beneficial, especially since a lot of these images I wouldn't have really drawn otherwise, you know, if it wasn't for this little challenge I set for myself. And yeah, it was quite fun to do. So I think I do quite like doing just studies in general. It's sort of like I can draw but also sort of switch off my brain after the sort of initial sketching out phase, you know? Like I think there's a sort of like the rendering element, it can be like more relaxing when I have an image right in front of me, you know? So in that sense, it is sort of nice to just sit down and do something and study it. Like I do enjoy that. So I think I'll try and definitely do something like this again. And here's the 2 pages that we did, and I quite like them in the end. Like I said, there's a few bits I want to change, but we'll develop that. And anyways, thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll see you later.